is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Sounds like 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee, featuring Tennessee Radio Hall of Famer George Plaster, Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame coach Watson Brown, and Young Guns Billy Derrick and Michael Cindric. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Depending on where you are, it may be pouring. It may actually be very nice. Where I am, it is pouring. But you know what? This show is going to be football dominated today, and that is a good thing. Let's call roll really quickly. Say hello to Coach Watson Brown, who joins us from up on the plateau. Watson, what's the weather like up there?
George, you need to come to God's country, man. It's sunny. It's pretty. We hadn't had a drop today. It's nice up here. Of course, it's probably like your old BGA days. You'd always look at Memphis, so I can look at Nashville and say, before this show's over, we're probably going to get a little rain. So
oh, man.
I'll go back in the dark again when that happens.
What we needed in Memphis was 30 degrees and a nice covering of ice headed this way. That's what we used to root for.
That would be 12 o'clock for you then, right? You'd be out at 12.
Absolutely. Billy Derrick probably had the same hopes as a Father Ryan grad. Billy, how are you?
George, I'm great. Father Ryan, BGA, Overton. We all had, whenever it's bad weather, we all knew they had bad weather too. So
I'll tell you what used to really piss me off. Battleground Academy, just for George, will open 2 hours early. that did not make me happy. So, good football show today. Let me tell you this. At 5:20, we will open up the phones. That is the last piece of what it is we're trying to develop on this show. We think we've got the phone issues fixed, and I'm going to want to get you all participating after a really good go at it today. Tony Basilio, longtime Knoxville sports talk show host, will bring us University of Tennessee football at 4:20. Tony Barnhart, I would call him the mayor of Southern College football. He will join us at 5 p.m., and then we'll get to your phone calls in between the Big Ten and all of their TV doings. First things first, we have a daily Titans update with Mr. Terry McCormick, who is wearing red.
we've got some reads first, though.
Certainly we don't want to stop those.
No, we don't, George. Terry is powered by the great folks at the Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners. They are proven to be trusted with your most personal asset, the Justin Tucker team. Call them at 615-906-8458. He's also sponsored by Sumner Funeral and Cremation. They are sharing their family with yours in your time of need. Now with 2 convenient locations in Gallatin and Hendersonville, and online at sumnerfuneral.com. Sumner Funeral and Cremation, traditional, affordable, and dignified.
Okay, there are not many Yankees that I like, but Terry, I was sad last night about the injury to Matt Carpenter. I'm a big fan of his. I hope he gets back soon.
Yeah, they said he's probably going to miss 6 to 8 weeks, which that's almost the balance of the regular season. So that's a little tough.
That guy is a winner.
Yeah,
unlike
it's really been a big lift.
Unlike a lot of the people you've had on your roster.
Wow, hurtful.
It was meant to be.
What do you got? Doesn't employ all saints. Your team doesn't employ all saints either, George.
Do you have someone in mind?
Ozuna, I think, had a little bit of an issue last year. Didn't
Marcel did have some issues. Yes. We'll move right along now to the.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one. Our little problem child. Okay, Terry, let's come back to you. The Titans had a closed workout today What can you tell us other than it was closed?
It was closed.
You.
Really, it's one of those deals where they get set up, they practice for situations and things like that. Some of it's a glorified walkthrough. They just want to make sure that guys know where they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to do when certain situations arise. They won't do a whole lot of game planning since it's preseason. They just want to turn guys loose and let them play, kind of see who can do what.
Terry, that brings, the importance of the kicking game in there. Special teams, I don't know what the percentage is, like 30% of a game is special teams. Where are they in the punting and the field goal kicking department?
Well, Caleb Shudak, who was brought in to challenge Randy Bullock, he's been hurt, but Randy Bullock has been on the money. He has been really steady during this preseason. I think he's only missed maybe 2 kicks in the whole time that camp's been going on. The other interesting part of this is Brett Kern. Now, his net average fell off just a little bit last year, and this kid that they brought in named Ryan Stonehouse, not to be confused with Jerry Stackhouse, has come in, and they claim he might have a real shot to at least earn a practice squad spot. And if they really, really want to save money and they're confident in him, it's not out of the question completely that they would move on from Brett Kern, which, George, I know as I do, you would hate to see that as long as he's been here. I think Brett Kern is probably safe, but it's not 100% with this kid Stonehouse around.
Well, the thing about Brett Kern, if the Titans were to release him, somebody picks him up like that.
No doubt about it. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He's been a Pro Bowl punter, an All-Pro, and, really not only a good punter, but a good guy as well.
Give me one other note that you want to bring to our attention.
All right, George, you probably already know this, but no Derrick Henry. I'd be shocked if we saw Ryan Tannehill. Some of the other guys I don't think you'll be seeing at all Thursday night would be, I don't think you'll see Robert Woods give it a try. I don't think you'll see Kevin Byard. I think they'll err on the side of caution with anybody that is a veteran player that they don't want to put out there in harm's way. It's going to be a lot of guys you've probably never heard of, but some of them are hoping to make a name for themselves with their play on either side of the ball or on special teams.
But if it doesn't work out, they need to learn how to mix up a Jack and Coke.
Yes, I guess that's correct.
When does Tampa Bay come in here? I know preseason game next Saturday night at Nissan Stadium, but the scrimmages and stuff and the practice sessions are when?
Wednesday and Thursday, and then they'll take Friday off to rest up for the game, and then the game on Saturday. But Wednesday and Thursday will be the big days there, where the Titans offense will go against the Bucs defense and vice versa.
Okay, beautiful. I like the new look today with the ceiling fan.
Well, thank you. Yes.
Does it work?
I just happened to set the laptop on the counter, and lo and behold, it's pointed kind of up at the ceiling fan.
Yeah. Does it work?
Sure. Absolutely, it works.
The ceiling fan does?
Yes. There you go.
That's, Watson, you don't get that on just any show.
No, not at all. I mean, it's first class.
That's big time. Terry, have a good one.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, Terry.
Terry McCormick's daily fan update. So we have an update.
Yes, we do.
It has important stuff.
Very important stuff.
Well, let's hear it then.
All right, we start in college football, George. ESPN has pulled out of the Big Ten TV negotiations. They, as in the Big Ten Conference, asked for a whopping 7 years, $380 million, and ESPN said, you can take that and shove it.
Is that how they said it?
I don't think that's how they said it.
Well, you know what? Just stick around because we got another one of those coming. Watson, later in the show, we'll get to, okay, if ESPN's out, who's in? So just save all of that because at 4:40, we're going to get into that.
Okay.
Item number 2.
Number 2, George, we go to tennis, women's tennis. Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time, announced earlier today that she will retire from the sport of tennis following her final showing in the U.S. Open. That'll be at the end of August. So Serena Williams, one of the greatest. She's calling it quits.
Okay, so it's a sister combination that Watson, have we ever had two sisters achieve more in sports?
No, I don't think so. Unbelievable athletes, George. They have been from the day they were, what were they, 14, 15 when they first started showing up in tennis, and of course Serena being the better of the two, but they're both fantastic. I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that again, to tell you the truth. Not in our lifetime, for that, I'm sure.
So on the brothers' side, obviously Eli and Peyton would be at the very top of the list. I know I'm missing some. One that came to mind, the great line drive machine, George Brett, and his brother Ken, who gave up home run number 700 to Hank Aaron.
The Necros?
The Necros are an obvious. Jim and Gaylord Perry would be another twosome. Those are four pretty strong ones.
There's a lot.
Billy, have you even heard of the Necros?
I've heard of the Necros. I didn't know there was another Necro besides Phil, though.
Oh, come on.
I've only heard of Phil Necro.
Joe Necro. You want a little trivia?
Let's hear it.
Joe Necro beat Phil Necro. It was either in 73 or 74. And pathetically, I remember it because I listened to it. You know what won it for Joe Necro?
What?
He homered off of his brother.
No.
How about that?
That's awesome.
You think that got brought up, Watson, on Thanksgiving?
I think more than once. Anytime Joe needed something, that came up. I can promise you.
Oh, yeah. Now, item number 3 is where somebody's going to tell somebody to shove it.
This is the real shove it right here.
Oh, this is big.
Jimmy Garoppolo was, I don't know about named, but I mean, he was kind of in theory named the 4th string quarterback, according to the unofficial depth chart that was attained by NBC Sports' Matt Maiako. 30 years old, of course, led them to a Super Bowl, but it seems like San Francisco is all but done with, is very much so done actually with Jimmy G.
Okay, so Trey Lance, they've said is number 1. By the way, I'm not convinced that's going to work, but who are 2 and 3 at the moment in Frisco?
Nate Sudfeld is the 2nd string, and then Brock Purdy is the 3rd string. So that for both of those guys to be in front of Jimmy G, that says a lot.
Okay, so Watson, I'm going to get real about this for a minute. What is the point on San Francisco's end of taking essentially one journeyman and one rookie and trying to embarrass Jimmy G? Because I don't care what you think of him as a quarterback. He's not 4th string. I would tell them to take their clipboard and shove it. And I think I would go to my agent and say, if this is what they're going to do to me, let's get out of here.
I think behind the scenes, what they're trying to do is keep the controversy out of it. So they're just removing Jimmy completely, where the fans, the media, everybody can't compare him and Lance every day, every preseason game. And I think they just want to say, this is our guy. We're going with him, and get Jimmy out of the way. And he's going to be traded.
No question he is.
It'll be, I'll bet you by sometime next week, he's out of there.
I was going to say no later in the next 2 weeks. It depends on who gets hurt, when, and where.
Yeah, and who's not doing well. And just Jimmy is the guy that's out there that could go in and be your starter. He could do that, no doubt. Anywhere.
All I'm saying is this should never have gotten out, and it should never have gotten out this way. And if I'm Garoppolo, I'm pissed.
Oh, I think he is, but I think he's been.
Well, yeah, and I think to his credit, he stayed very quiet throughout this.
And that's his personality. He is not a open, take things on. That is not him at all. This does not surprise me. But behind closed doors, I promise you there's been some yelling back and forth over this.
Yeah. What else?
George, we got more NFL news. Marshawn Lynch has been charged with a DUI in Vegas. He's facing multiple charges, including suspicion of DUI after being arrested. He was arrested after officers conducted a vehicle stop for erratic driving. So Marshawn Lynch having some fun in Vegas.
Nice. Nothing more needs to be said. And finally,
some baseball news that George has been waiting on. Chris Sale is out for the season. He was already on the injured list with a broken finger, but now it's been announced that he will miss the entirety of this season. So tough news for Boston.
Oh, yeah. Watson, when I watch his delivery, it just gives me lower back issues.
Yeah, it's different, isn't it? I can't tell you exactly why it's different, but it's different. He is a very good player, though. I think that's Boston throwing up the red flag a little bit to me. They're not going to take any chances on him and get ready for next year.
They have not only thrown up the red flag, but it matches the empty red seats that are becoming more and more apparent at Fenway, which is why Terry McCormick and the child can get halfway decent tickets to Fenway for the series against the Yankees. It absolutely is true.
It's true, and you can bet there will be more Yankee fans in that stadium than there will be Red Sox, and that don't happen very often.
No, and when they do, the booing, when they go, let's go Yankees, it'll feel like a civil war up there.
There's going to be some brawls.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Okay, we're excited about the show today. We're going to talk University of Tennessee football with longtime Knoxville sports talk show host Tony Basilio. Then we'll get into the Big Ten's new television stuff, where all of a sudden a lot of stuff flip-flopped around. And then at 5 o'clock, Tony Barnhart. He is, to my way of thinking, the expert in Southern college football. Stick around. This is Main Street Media Television.
Buying or selling a home can be a very personal experience. Why not go with the team that receives nearly all of their business from referrals? Clearly a trusted name in real estate. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners has sold more than 500 homes in the last 7 years. Voted best in Sumner County multiple times. Proven to be trusted with your most personal assets. Call the Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners at 615-906-8458. The Justin Tucker team with Platinum Realty Partners, Middle Tennessee's most trusted team in realty.
I highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation because of their caring nature and attentiveness to detail.
Pre-planning your funeral now will bring you peace of mind and less stress to your loved ones. When the chaos of losing you happens, your family can honor and celebrate your life, knowing things are happening just as you wanted them to. Pre-planning determines the details of your funeral, cemetery services, and can be less expensive. We are honored to serve you and are always here for you in your time of need.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
Jody Jones Dentistry can handle all your dental needs, from the basics to cosmetic procedures. All of this in the nicest dental facility I have ever seen. Jody has done it right. They're located conveniently at 55 Music Square East, and for an appointment, it's simple. Dial 615-259-5100 and tell them Plaz sent you. When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
I'm Bart Durham.
I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1963, and I've been working as a lawyer since then.
We're a firm that does exclusively personal injury, a lot of tractor-trailer crashes. Insurance companies will open up their checkbooks when you force them to.
We have systems that work.
We get the most money for our clients in the shortest amount of time.
I'm Blair Durham. My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
I've done sports. I've been a photographer. I've been an editor. I've been a producer. I've been a reporter. I've been an anchor. I mean, I've done every job you could possibly imagine this. And so sports was a way to have fun and be different. But then I realized community is where it's at, and community and local and doing places and going, seeing people. And, sports, you go to a stadium, everybody celebrates and they go their different ways. But community-wise, there's so much going on.
Well, each Tuesday between now and the end of college football season, we're going to talk University of Tennessee football. I'm very excited to be able to welcome Tony Basilio to our microphones. As most of you know, a longtime sports talk show host in Knoxville. One of the things I really like about Tony is he'll tell you when Tennessee has done well, and he is not afraid to tell you if Tennessee has struggled. And so with that in mind, we're going to bring him up here in just a moment. Yes, you have things to say, don't you?
Yeah, we can't forget about that, George. Tony Basilio has two sponsors when he comes on with us every Tuesday. Wellskin Dermatology and Aesthetics. They provide medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit them at wellskinmd.com to schedule your appointment or call 615-675-0444. And direct radon mitigation. Have you heard of the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer. The only way to know is to test for it. Visit directradonmitigation.com to schedule a free estimate.
Okay, let's bring up Tony Basilio and say hello. Tony, how in the world are you?
Doing great, George. How you doing tonight?
Good. How many pennants have you got back there?
It's my stuff in my studio here. We call it the Raymere Studio. That's the Memphis Showboats back there, Michigan Panthers, University of Tennessee. I'm messing with myself here, but yeah, I have a little sports collection behind me with some USFL stuff from back in the day.
Okay, hold on. I'll get out of the way for a second because ours is very similar. Let's back this up and show him what's back here. We got a little bit of everything. We've got some Tennessee. Okay. We got a little Titans. We got a little Vandy. And if you'll look over right there, you'll see the newspaper the night the Braves won it all in 95.
Boom. Against the Indians. Dave Justice.
Exactly. Yes. Bingo. So let's talk a little bit about what it is you cover. There is an excitement level right now that it has been a while since we have seen this, and it's kind of shown up in the season ticket numbers.
Yeah, it has here in Knoxville. Look, when you have to follow Butch Jones and you've got to follow, what's the guy's name? Jeremy Pruitt. Come on now. They always say you don't want to follow a legend. Like you, Radio Hall of Famer. I mean, who wants to follow you at any stop? But, the truth is for this head coach, he comes in as a guy, and the funny thing, he wasn't their first choice, but he's got a way about him, George. He's got, I call it sort of an emotional intelligence, treats people with respect. He's a really good football coach for this era, for the type of athlete you have to deal with now, especially in the NIL era. I think this guy would be a solid pro coach if given the opportunity. And his offensive concepts are excellent as well.
Tony, I thought before he got there, I used to call it Cro-Magnon. It was so simple. And to watch the evolution of Tennessee offensively in a year's time, it's blown my mind.
Well, it's dizzying. I mean, they didn't last year. They went into the season 1 year ago today, and they would have told you Joe Milton was going to be their quarterback. Hendon Hooker came in with very little fanfare, came from Virginia Tech, wasn't really brought there by this staff, was brought by a former staff member, Jay Graham, who played back here. And then those guys exited stage left. And then all of a sudden, the job fell to Hooker when Milton faltered. And Hendon Hooker, they had their first scrimmage today. And I understand talking to some people, it was closed. But I understand talking to some people, he was really sharp, really in command of the offense. Josh Heupel has some new toys to play with, and they're going to hit the ground running here in year 2 offensively. The question for them is, can they stop anybody on the other end of the field? And I think that very much remains to be seen.
Yeah, let's go back to Hooker for a second. It seems to me that right now you could say he might be one of the 5 or 6 best quarterbacks in the country. Is there a scenario where he could just explode to an even different level and be a Heisman candidate?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I mean, when you play the kind of offense these guys play at the kind of speed that they want to play, last year he could have had some bigger numbers if they didn't pull off the gas in a few games. There was a Missouri game when they just exploded offensively. They could have scored 100 points that day if they would have felt like it. Poor Steve Wilkes. I mean, I don't know what they were doing at Missouri defensively early in the year last year, but there were a couple plays where Tennessee had players just break wide open, and they were looking around to see where the would-be tacklers were. And George, there was nobody within 20, 25, 30 yards. You know, the thing about Heupel's scheme is that Hooker is going to get ample opportunity to roll up some big numbers. And they proved it last year against a Georgia team. Tennessee scored on Georgia. They were one of the few teams in the league that actually offensively were able to do anything. And then Alabama, you know, going back and looking at the Alabama game, we were commenting the other day that Tennessee on a few plays had multiple receivers open on plays with Alabama, and you just don't see that. Multiple wide receivers open on certain plays. This Heupel guy has a real knack for schemes and calling the right stuff at the right time. He's got a really good feel offensively for the game. What we don't know about him is how will this guy function in close Southeastern Conference football games once his talent begins to get better, because it is going to get better now that we're in the NIL era for sure, and Tennessee is going to invest in their roster.
Tony, the Hooker story almost sounds like a movie. So I'm curious, because you're up there, when did Hooker go from second team to this just breakout stuff? What is it they saw or he saw to say, wait a minute, I can take this to a level that none of you know is coming?
Well, you know, George, they didn't see it. Last year, their quarterback was going to be Joe Milton. You know, Hooker was there in the spring, and they went and got Joe Milton off Michigan's roster, essentially. And with a few weeks left in spring ball, they moved Milton here. He moved here with the idea that he was going to be the quarterback. And then in the summer, you know, he kind of got the job. And the thing about Hendon Hooker was, which you say it's like a movie, I don't think that's far off. I mean, Hendon Hooker's a guy who at Virginia Tech, we have a couple listeners that listen, you know, the power of the internet, that listen up in that Roanoke area, that would call the show and say last year, boy, I sure hope Hendon Hooker doesn't end up the quarterback. I sure hope Hendon Hooker. And I'm going, why? And they're saying he just can't play. I mean, he looks like he can play, looks like he should be able to do it. And so he comes from a regime that basically had gotten flushed out there at Virginia Tech. And he came in here as sort of a reclamation project, waited around for his turn. When he got the job, it was readily apparent early last season that he could flat out play the game. I mean, he showed flashes of it in the Pittsburgh game last year, and then they finally decided to roll with him at the end of September, and he was very good. I mean, at times last year, he was unbelievably good. And for a guy with his past, it was really unreal to watch him before our very eyes. Just, you know, the lights come on for him. They unlocked him somehow last year.
Tony, you'll get a lot more intelligent football stuff with this guy. Watson, say hello to Tony Basilio.
Tony, thanks, man, for coming on. This is going to be neat having you on every week.
Well, it's an honor, sir, to talk with you. I'll tell you that, a legend like yourself. I'm not worthy of two legendary individuals being here, but I'm going to try my best.
Hey, as soon as he figures out who they are, Watson, we'll get a bulletin in.
That won't take long, will it, George?
That's good stuff.
We're not very hard to figure out, that's for sure. Tony, I I'll start with this. I give Josh a lot of credit because from the inside, I was told that Hooker could not pick the stuff up. It was so fast, and he just could not get it in the spring and even in summer early camp. Mm-hmm. And I promise, I'll bet you, Coach Heupel simplified some things for him that fit him better when he knew he had to be the guy. And, man, he just took off. So I give Heupel the credit on this because there's no way you go from what he was doing in the spring and early summer and then just, boom, turn it on like that.
I think that's a great point. We've seen, and I know you've seen them too, and I've never understood this in that sport, but, coaches that amuse themselves with things that are so complicated, that's not the idea.
No.
The idea is to take your roster and maximize it, and the thing I hear about Heupel from his kids, compared with the previous regime, is, we get corrected sternly. A lot's expected of us, but we get treated like men. We get treated like grown-ups.
Yeah.
And this guy's entire staff, that's sort of their approach. And you know what? I mean, you've been on all sides of this thing with rosters of plenty and then rosters of few. And Tennessee's somewhere in the middle. Last year, they were certainly more with a roster of few than they are now. But at some level, you would have to think that they had to evaluate, like you say, in real time. I mean, that is if you don't mind, I'm going to use that tomorrow on the air in terms of, I think that's a really excellent observation on your part. That had to be what they do. What they did for him was just strip it back and just let him be athletic at quarterback.
And as his confidence grew, I think, Tony, they probably threw more back at him then. And I think you'll see him more advanced with him this year over last. The one thing that I thought was missing last year, and they moved the ball well, scored points. You have to at the pace they play. You have to score points at that pace. I think you add another 100 yards a game if they've got that Alvin Kamara, that guy that can take it and dodge everybody. And I haven't seen that last year. They got a lot of yards, I thought, Tony, off of structure. Now they need a guy that's going to take the structure further, and that yards after the catch or that run. Are you seeing that this year? Because I think that's a missing piece that takes them to another level offensively.
I think they realize that. And one of their young backs is a kid by the name of Dylan Sampson, who today now, first of all, leading up to today's scrimmage, and about football players, you can almost tell right away whether somebody can play or not. I mean, that. And it's the craziest thing about that sport. But I started hearing from talking to people excellent things about him. And then today he went and backed it up in his first scrimmage, played really, really well. And he gives them somebody more athletic, a little quicker. And in this offense, as with the splits for the backs and the lanes that you get, if you can get a guy back there that's shifty and can hit it and really get upfield for you, you could rack up a lot of yards. I think this is a quarterback-friendly offense. I think it's a running back-friendly offense. I think it's a slot-friendly offense.
Yep.
I think it's a wide-out-friendly offense. I mean, I think this thing for skill players looks like a lot of fun to play in.
It 100% agree, Tony, that they can put everybody in space with a one-on-one opportunity by giving it to the back when the box isn't loaded. If the box is loaded, somebody on the outside is going to get it. Or when they start taking those little quick things away with the bubbles and all that, they go back to playing you man-to-man, and you're going to get one-on-ones. And so it's built for a guy to beat somebody, and that's what they've done. They've talked a lot about defense to me, Tony. I throw it back first, though, at the offense. I thought the offense, you play that pace, you've got to score points and you've got to keep the ball. You cannot let your defense be in the 80s like you're going to be 80s and 90s, 100 on offense. There's got to be a difference. And I thought last year, Tony, there were way too many spells where it was 3 and out or whatever. They were blowing people up, and then all of a sudden in second quarters or third quarters, they just disappear for a quarter.
Yep.
You cannot do that in this style because the defense can't handle it. So I think Coach Heupel has gotten back and said, guys, we have got to be more consistent. Yes, we're getting patted on the back, but there's a piece missing here, and that's consistency, because I've run that fast-paced style. And if you do, you better be good on offense to run it.
Well, see, I remember in your day, you were not afraid to take chances, kind of like these. And that day, it was extremely rare. I mean, the era that when you were coaching offensively, and that's a great observation. Last year, there were times where they would start gangbusters first quarter, just rip through people.
Yep.
And then they get to the second quarter, and all of a sudden, what you see is 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And to your point, their 3 and outs are not like other teams' 3 and outs. Their 3 and outs are, if you go 3 and out, your defense is literally back on the field in like it could be 100 seconds. I mean, it's so quick that and there's no way as a defensive player, they don't have numbers back there to begin with on that side of the football, but there's no way they have the numbers to compete in this league, in any league for that matter, when they would take a quarter off last year, especially the second quarter. And it's something that has been a point of emphasis for them. Can they get it addressed? Or will this be the personality of their football team? I don't know until the season starts.
Yeah, George, last thing I have, Tony, the thing I think defensively to play this style offensively, you have to have depth.
Yeah.
And that's something there. It's going to take some time to get. You've got to be too deep on defense, because even when the offense is really good, you're still going to play a lot of plays on defense. You'd like to be at least in the low 70s defensively. And with this pace, you're out there quicker. So there's got to be depth. Are they getting that, in your opinion? Is it starting to show? Will it show at all in this year's team?
I think it's going to show in next year's team, to be quite honest with you. I don't think they're there yet. And I think they're such a help-wanted sign that they've been able defensively so far with what they've been able to add in their recruiting class. They've actually fared a lot better with defensive players than I thought they would. The interesting thing, what's happened to Tennessee's recruiting to this point, and again, the game has changed so much because so much of what's being done in recruiting happens in the summer now. So you get more of a clear shot of what you're looking at. So with that in mind, thus far, Tennessee on offensive line recruits, offensive line, which is a neat area right now for this team. They have gone 1 for 7 so far. 1 for 7. That's just not going to work. So they've got to pick that up, find some answers there. Defensively, they've been able to add in this class. Now, you won't see them till next year, and they'll be kids, but they've been able to add several 4-star type players in this class that they're extremely excited about.
Well,
okay, I love where we've started, even though I sound like fill in the blank, little coughing spell. Can reach you.
Sure. I have a website. Every day we update our blog. I'll have stuff on the scrimmage from people I talk to that I'm getting ready to call. A few more folks here in a second, but it's called tclub.team. Again, the letter T, club.team. And then just one thing, I'm on after every football game as well as a daily show I do from 11 to 1 there that, we're heard all over the world, but 11 to 1 Eastern time every day. And then you can find my show whenever at your leisure. And then we do, for some reason, a post-game show that airs immediately after games. And after big wins, we've stayed on 7 or 8 hours without taking a commercial break. And that is the truth, because I love the passion. I just love the passion of college football. I love this fan base, this place, the state of Tennessee. My family in Pennsylvania, they used to ask me, when are you coming back? They don't ask me that anymore, but it's a lot of fun, guys. And thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to this with both of you.
Tony, it's the other way around. Even though I sound like crap after all these coughs, thank you for doing this. I am excited that you're on with us every week.
All right, my friend. Me too.
Thanks,
Tony, thank you.
Thank you.
This is something we're going to enjoy. Tony Basilio will be with us every Tuesday. We'll call it University of Tennessee Tuesday during the football season. You will want to mark it down on your calendar because, as I said earlier, he'll tell you if they've done well, but he'll also tell you if they have not done well, and that separates him from a lot of people up in that area. We'll go to the break, and then we'll talk a little more Tennessee football. We'll talk Big Ten TV contract. This is Main Street Television.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
At WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics, we pride ourselves in providing access, innovation, and a patient experience second to none. Access to care and treatment when you need it. Innovation with medical-led cosmetics and various on-site technologies for full-service treatments with a customer experience that is calming, casual, and effective. Independently owned, providing medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit WellSkinMD.com to schedule your appointment today. WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics. Access to healthier skin. It's your last chance to get a spring tune-up for summer. Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have cold air on that first hot day of summer. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. That's 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Have you heard about the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking, and has no color, no taste, and no smell. The only way to know if you have radon is to test for it. Duret Radon Mitigation offers testing for small and large-scale residential and commercial properties, plus mitigation services. Visit DuretRadonMitigation.com to request testing or get a free estimate for mitigation. That's DuretRadonMitigation.com.
I think journalism is like politics. It's all local, and I think Main Street Media has really hit on something that I've been preaching for 50 years. And keep the news local, right? Local stories for local readers, and that's what I like about Main Street Media. I finally found somebody who agrees with me philosophically about concentrate on local subjects, local topics, and you'll bring your readers in.
We're back, and I'll tell you, I'm very excited about having Tony Basilio added to our University of Tennessee coverage. On Tuesdays, we'll have him on at 4:20, and then when the games begin, we'll really tap into Watson's knowledge and get into his observations, his analysis of what Tennessee is doing. Let's real quickly put up their schedule for 2022. As all of you know, they open with Ball State My buddy Mike knew that might be a really tough opening for Mike. But Watson, in your mind, as you look over their schedule, when is it that we know for sure whether they have taken a next leap in this rebuilding process?
I think they got a good shot to be 4-0. But the one after that at LSU, if they win that one and they are 4-0, I think mark it. They're on their way. And that's not an easy schedule, but I believe they'll beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's going to have a new quarterback. It's early in the year. Should have beat them last year, to be very honest. If Hooker had been playing then, I think they would have. And I think they will get Florida in Knoxville. I don't think Florida can stay with them in the pace. So I'm looking at 4-0 going to LSU, and then I put that game as a mark. You go to Baton Rouge and you win at 4-0, look out. They're going to win some games down the stretch.
People talk about the value of when you're able to get your open date. If you look at Tennessee's schedule, they have an open date between Florida at home, Florida at home and at LSU.
Yes.
And I think that's vitally important because if they didn't have that open date on 3 consecutive weekends, it would be Florida at home, at LSU, Alabama at home. Well, this just in, the New Orleans Saints couldn't handle that.
Well, and you can look at every other team in the SEC that has that, George, and think about it, it's fixing to get worse when you throw Oklahoma and Texas in this with it. So it's the SEC. It's not who you're playing that week. It's the next week, then the next week. I've said that over and over and over. But I truly believe if Hooker stays healthy, that's a big if because they use him a lot, they'll be 4-0. They're going to get Florida. That place, if they're 3-0, that place will be it will be the old-time Tennessee. It will be the true Neyland Stadium that I know from my years of playing those guys. And it hadn't been that way in recent years. And people say, Tennessee is one of the – I say, yeah, you just ain't seen it in a while. But when it gets rolling now, that's a heck of a place to play football. And the Gators, I just don't think – I think even if they lose Pittsburgh, they're going to beat Florida, in my opinion. So I put at LSU as the big one right now. There's 2 teams on there that are just absolutely better than them, and that's all. 2. In my opinion, and that's Georgia and Alabama. Everybody else, Tennessee's right there with or better than.
Why is Florida every year in that same spot on Tennessee's schedule?
It's tradition. It's just the way it is. It's been that way for a long time. It might finally get changed, Billy, when Oklahoma and Texas come in because there are a lot of things will change at that point. I think they'll even go to 9 games myself. And so – it's tradition. Alabama's always pretty much in the same spot. And they play them every year, and they're not even in the division with them. So
that's my favorite annual tradition. Boy, if Tennessee can start 3-0 or 4-0 leading into Florida, imagine what that place would be like. And a game last year, I mean, that Pittsburgh game at Pittsburgh, it's not going to be easy. So, I mean, you look, Watson, that we were saying that last year, if Tennessee can get undefeated, you got Florida coming in, but you also got Pittsburgh. So, but I do agree. Pittsburgh, they're not as good as they were.
I think at Pittsburgh will be a tougher win than Florida will be. I think they're going to get Florida pretty good.
Yeah, Florida does not seem to be in the best spot right now, and I think we got George back here. But I mean, you look at the Gators. Napier's got a long road. It feels like.
No, and as I said, Alabama and Georgia are the only 2 teams on that schedule that are just flat better than Tennessee. So this team could be looking at 10-2. But guys, when you start predicting like we do, like everybody does this time of year,
we look stupid.
It's nuts because injury is the biggie. And there's just certain people each team cannot lose. And for Tennessee, it's one guy they lose, and that offense falls off drastically in my opinion.
The quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watson, I went to the bowl game against Purdue, And defensively, they scare me. They never came close to stopping Purdue in that game. I kept waiting for the one stop that might win them the game. Not that Purdue's defense was anything to write home about either. It was a total track meet. But they've got to get not a little better. They've got to get significantly better on that side.
Yeah, they do. And everybody is saying that. But I'm telling you, they'll get better if the offense don't have those quarters of 3 and outs or turnovers. Like
it was very inconsistent. You're right about that.
Very inconsistent. And everybody's patting them on the back. But that style creates points. That style creates yards because you're fast-paced and you're getting more snaps. George, when you run that style, and when I did it in my latter years, when you run that style and a game's over and you've been successful, you're probably 25 or 30 plays more than your opponent. That's a lot of offensive plays now, especially in the fourth quarter when that defense on the other side is getting tired.
It's as though you had them out there an extra quarter.
Yeah, it is truly an extra quarter, and I can remember going fast in fourth quarters when it was a really tough team in the first quarter, and we're playing, and in the fourth quarter, they can hardly get off the ground to get up to play the next play. I'm serious. And that's what Tennessee did last year to people. They could hardly get off the ground. So could Tennessee hardly get off the ground. And we talked about that because both teams are playing so many snaps. You do that. You've got to be consistent. You cannot put your defense out there 80, 85 plays.
No, those of you watching this, Watson's putting on a clinic right now because he is dead on right. Tennessee had these big plays and these big drives, but there were too many. I can remember in the Purdue game, they got into sort of a lull of 3 and outs.
Or turnovers. Yes. And you go back and see in the games they lost, it happened in every one of them. And you just can't do that in this style. If you're going to be the old Georgia Herschel Walker style, okay, you can be some 3 and outs. You're shortening the game anyway. They lengthen the game by the way they play. They want the game to last another 45 minutes. They want the game to be another 20 plays than everybody else plays. That's their style, and that's where I think they've got to do a better job to help their defense, and they've got to recruit on the defensive side, George. You can't win a championship running this style without a deep defense. They've got to be at least 2 deep across the board with a guy pretty much as good as the one you're putting out there.
Their DC at certain points last season had to have been, hey, Josh, can we slow it down a little bit?
No.
And you better not go in and say that because I'm telling you, Billy, he was hired understanding what he was supposed to do. And any defensive coordinator goes in and tells the head coach who is the offensive guy that
he may lose his job.
You know what you stepped into. You knew you weren't going to be the number one. You'll never have the number one defense in the league with this pace of offense. It'll never happen.
Nope.
You're always going to be a middle of the pack defense. That's a whole lot better, Billy, than really their stats show.
Very excited about University of Tennessee Tuesdays here on the show. When we come back, it's stat of the day. The questions have got to improve. That thing about Babe Ruth, that's killing me. Stay tuned. This is Main Street Media Television.
Since 1865, the First Baptist Church of Gallatin on Winchester Street has served its community by catering to the least, the last, and the lost, providing a church of welcome used by God to save the lost, transform the saved, and impact its community. As a proud multi-ethnic congregation, Pastor Derek Jackson personally welcomes you to join them in fellowship Sunday mornings at 8 in person or at 1045 in person or online at firstbaptistgallatin.org. First Baptist Gallatin on Winchester Street, serving with open arms as a true church of welcome.
Tell me a little bit about your company.
So One Stop Realty has been around since 1974. We are your hometown brokerage. It is family owned by me. We have 30 agents that are waiting to help you with all your real estate needs. That counts as residential, commercial, and property management. We also will be getting into the auction business at the end of this month as well. We have listings that range from every price range that you can think of on the real estate market. I know Shelley Tucker has a new listing coming up in Gallatin. Heather Patton has one in Madison right around the corner here. I have one coming up myself. We have everything you need as far as real estate, and we have the expertise to help you out.
Beautiful. Give them a phone number.
Phone numbers for the office is 615-822-0750. You can find us on the web at www.onestoprealty.tn.com.
Thanks for getting involved with us.
George,
really
thank you for
appreciate
having
this. Yeah, it's going to be fun.
I think so.
Serving Williamson and surrounding counties, Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee offers comprehensive orthopedic care with 16 subspecialized physicians. Our practice provides high-tech care with a hometown touch. We offer physician clinics, physical and occupational therapy, advanced imaging, and surgical services, including interventional procedures. Call us at 615-791-2630. We're Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. High-tech care with a hometown touch.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
I've done sports. I've been a photographer. I've been an editor. I've been a producer. I've been a reporter. I've been an anchor. I mean, I've done every job you could possibly imagine this. And so sports was a way to have fun and be different. But then I realized community is where it's at, and community and local and doing places and going, seeing people. And, sports, you go to a stadium, everybody celebrates and they go their different ways. But community-wise, there's so much going on.
We are back. We're going to open up the phone lines at 5:20, and I'm going to ask for the favor, if you're watching the show, to get in on the lines for a couple of reasons. Number one, we want to talk sports with you all. But secondly, we're trying to work out all the kinks out of a pretty sophisticated phone system that we've got. I thought we had it all worked out, and then yesterday we had a couple of little bugaboos. So here is that number. Go ahead and jot it down. It's 588-2998. Again, 588-2998. And we'll go to those phones today at 5:20 on the button. Okay, let's check in on the question.
All right, are we ready for today's stat of the day? You got the tough one out of the way yesterday. So we'll have to see if Plaz and Watson can bounce back. It is sponsored by John English Vintage Sports and Cards. They specialize in antique and historical sports equipment, games, advertising, and other sport-related items. You can visit them in Shelbyville, Tennessee, Tuesdays through Fridays from noon to 5 o'clock and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Visit JohnEnglishGradedCards.com. All right, today's question. Which two athletes have the most appearances on Sports Illustrated covers?
Watson, I believe I am all over this.
All right, let's hear it.
Okay. And don't you say anything yet. This is not official. This is Watson and I talking.
All right.
Host to host.
Sure.
Watson, I think it's got to be Ali and Michael Jordan. Tiger might be the other one, but I don't think so. Was the music, what happened there?
Well, I tried to play a sound effect, George,
really?
Because believe it or not.
Whoa, hold on a second.
I think you were right.
Watson, He didn't play fair there, did he?
No, but that's good, George.
Let me ask you this. Is that what you think?
Yes. It's exactly what I think.
Okay.
Look at that.
Michael Jordan's been on the cover 50 times.
I would have definitely said Jordan, but I don't know about Ali. I don't know if I would have said
Ali. You're not old enough.
Well, and it didn't happen 5 years ago.
No, he's not old enough.
No. So
I'm not 12 years old.
So you've got your new little play toy over there.
Yeah, still playing around with it.
What is it you were trying to give us?
Well, I was trying to hit the we got a little sound effect for right answers. The buzzer for wrong answers. I was ready for that one, but I couldn't get the right answer. But I got to go back and fix that.
I don't like your attitude. So you just assumed we would bomb.
I mean, stats haven't been great in stat of the day.
Well, you try this. You know what, Watson? Maybe tomorrow, of course, he'll already know the answer. You know, it'd be fun to just switch places for a couple of days.
We can come up with a stat of the day and let him have it.
It's got to be before the year 2000, after the year 2000, actually.
That's not the way this works.
Okay, maybe after the 90s, but anything before
we got to
that.
have a little time frame for you there, bud? I mean, just you in a little 2-year time frame? Is that it?
I gotta do almost. I gotta almost do the same thing for y'all.
What does that mean?
Almost.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, you guys, all the old ones. You got today's Jordan and Ali. I don't know. Some of the newer ones have tripped you up. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, you try looking into a camera and doing this. I'll admit it's easier on radio. I don't know why. It just is. Anyway, we have reached the 5 o'clock hour. Put the phone number back up one time. That might be good to get those phones hopping at 5:20. That's the number we'll go to. I want some of you who are watching the show to jump in, not only because we want to talk sports, but we want to fix up the kinks in our new phone system. Okay. We're at the 5 o'clock hour. Are we now ready for Mr. College Football?
Yes, we are. Mr. College Football is coming up.
He is one of my all-time favorite people. One of the things he did years ago was write an autobiography about the late, great University of Georgia play-by-play voice Larry Munson. And during SEC Media Days, Tony Barnhart and I had a blast going through old Munson stories. But it's actually Billy that caught up with him, and here is that interview.
Start so far this week. What's the biggest thing that you look at and kind of surprises you, whether it was a quote or from a coach or a player? What surprised you most so far here in Atlanta?
Well, it was interesting to hear Kirby Smart. A lot of times when coaches say, well, this player is not getting the respect they deserve, and they sort of talk around it and all that. And he said, yeah, he said Stetson Bennett is a guy. He's the least known great player in my program, and I think that to me that was significant. It was good to see the commissioner. Somebody asked me before it started what the commissioner was going to say in his opening remarks, and I said he's probably going to stand up there and say conference expansion. No, we're good. We're good. Thanks, appreciate it. We're in good shape. And the other thing I thought he was going to say, he says, you know what? All things considered, it's pretty good to be us. We're happy to be us. And so that's when he talked about the strength and who they are. So I thought that was a good way to sort of kick things off. There's been no real surprises from the coaches. I always enjoy Mike Leach and his interlude and what he talks about, things of that nature. So, but no surprises. And I think the commissioner kind of wanted it that way this week.
Yeah, there's less drama, probably better for the commissioner,
That's
right?
Don't need any more drama. We got enough drama in college football without adding any more to it.
Exactly. I want to talk NIL now. It feels like every coach has been asked about it. He's been asked about NIL. He's been asked about transfer portal. Mm-hmm. Which response did you feel like might have surprised some people, or was it just kind of par for the course this week?
Well, I think Kirby Smart said it. Commissioner Sankey said it, and they all said, "Listen, we are in favor of NIL. We're in favor of the guys making money in the open marketplace. What we're looking for as administrators and coaches is just tell us what the rules are. We'll operate within the rules, but you got to have some rules." Nick Saban, I was with a smaller group that talked to Nick Saban yesterday. He said, there's no, in the history of sports, in the history of anything competitive, you always have to have a set of rules. And there are no rules. There are no rules right now, and that's why people call it the Wild Wild West, because that's exactly what it is. So the challenge is going to be they're not against NIL. They want the players to be able to make money. But what they do need to know is a set of enforceable is the operative word there that the commissioner used yesterday. You've got to have a set of enforceable rules so that everybody's playing off the same page instead of 3 or 4 or 5 different states who have their own laws. The other thing that was said, Nick Saban said it yesterday, the model we have now, which is crazy, is not sustainable. You're going to have schools that have promised this, they've promised X, and they can't deliver. And that's when it's really going to get ugly.
Tony, I want to go through the SEC East here real quick. Georgia, of course, is here in Atlanta today. Tennessee is a really trendy pick to finish right behind Georgia, and even a trendy pick to finish third in the SEC as a whole. So for Tennessee in the SEC East and in that pecking order, what's the outlook for the Vols this year?
I like Tennessee. Right now, I've got them finishing second in the SEC East. I wish they play. Hopefully, they're going to play a little bit better defense than they did. But, the great thing that Josh Heupel did in his first year is that he established a very clear playing identity of what Tennessee wanted to be. They're going to spread you out. They're going to put their playmakers on your defensive backs and try to win these one-on-one matchups, and they're going to stretch you. They're going to stretch you horizontally, but they're also going to stretch you vertically. And so when Hendon Hooker, 31 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, that's unheard of. Usually in many passes he throws, there'd be wide receivers that tip the ball and it lands somewhere else. It bounces off somebody's head. But 31 touchdowns and 3 interceptions was good. So that's why I have Tennessee finishing second.
In the West, is it Alabama's to lose, or you like anybody? You like A&M to kind of nip at their heels? You like anybody else there?
Alabama's going to win every game they play. Okay, I can't make it any more plainer than that. Alabama is in a really interesting mindset right now. They won the Southeastern Conference Championship. They won 13 games. 7th time Saban has done that, by the way, 13 or more games. They got to the national championship game. 99% of the football programs in America will be throwing a parade right after the games. Alabama, well, we got to rebuild and figure out what we're going to do next. We'll somehow overcome that season. And so I just think they're in a great frame of mind. I know, by the way, you got arguably the best offensive player in college football in Bryce Young, who only won the Heisman Trophy, and you got a guy in Will Anderson who I'm not going to say probably. He will be the first defensive player to come off the board in the NFL draft. That's how good he is.
I thought you were going to say he's going to win the Heisman. I thought you were going to say first defensive player in a while.
By George, he should get to New York, and it would be great. It would be great for the Heisman, and it would be great for college football if you want it.
Might as well give it to him. Let's get into the national perspective of college football right now. Of course, we're all talking about the SEC, but with conference realignment, how is the Big 12 affected? How is the Pac-12 affected? We just heard about they don't want to deal with each other. They're not going to merge. So do you think that's smarter on their part, or do you think do you think there's something else out there for those schools?
I think it's dumb on the Pac-12's part, because I tell you what's going to happen. Unless I miss my guess, the Big 12 is going to sit down and say, hey, we tried to reason with them. We tried to come up with something that would work and save us both. Now we're going on offense. As the new commissioner said last week, we are open for business. And that tells me they are going to think seriously about going to the Pac-12. I mean, think about this. You got Oregon, you got Washington sitting there as your major market programs now. What about taking those two, taking Colorado, who's been in the Big 12, and that's a fit, and Utah, and that's a fit? And that gives you a 16-team conference just like the SEC and the Big 10. I think they'll make that move, and honestly, the Pac-12 is going to really be hurting. I just don't see the Big 12 standing pat. I could be wrong. They understand this is not about teams. Everybody's getting, well, you need to get that team. No. This is math. How much money, if I bring you 4 teams in, how much money are you going to generate? Are you going to generate enough money so that everybody pays for themselves? Because we're not going to take less money this year than we did last year, just because we wanted to add some teams. So you have to do the math, and to me, it just makes sense for the Big 12 to go aggressive and get 4 more teams to get up to 16.
Tony, Notre Dame just asked for $75 million from NBC, so they're in a really interesting spot right now. Irish fans everywhere are sitting here saying, "What's going to happen? Where are we going to go?" So what's going on with the Irish?
It's called leverage, okay? And Jack Swarbrick, the athletic director at Notre Dame, has got it. They've been able to make it work financially with. I think the most they're getting from NBC was like $25 million now, and so what they're doing is they're leaning on NBC. Mm-hmm. They're saying, "Look, we have options. We can stay as an independent, but it's going to cost. We got to have $75 million. Because the teams in the Big Ten are going to get $100 million. Maybe the teams in the SEC get $100 million. It's going to take 75 for us to
ready to connect. Click connect to show now. You are connected as the host.
I think.
Welcome, host. You are now in the host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface.
One of my friends in the business wrote that if Notre Dame does join the Big Ten, they will lose their identity, and they will. Penn State lost their identity. They were the great Eastern Independent, but sometimes you get to a point in time where if you're Notre Dame, you're saying these circumstances may never arise again. We may never be in this, and I'm telling you, if the Big Ten lays $100 million on the table, I think they go. I don't think they're going to get that bid, and I think they'll end up staying as an independent. As
an independent, Tony, for Notre Dame, does that put them at a disadvantage? I know we talk about pride for a fan base and players and coaches. A lot of them do probably want to stay independent, but what does that mean for them in the future? Does it put them at a disadvantage if they're independent?
It absolutely could. It absolutely could. The question is what happens with they have an arrangement with the ACC, where the ACC hosts all of their basketball and other and revenue sports there. And here's the key component. Notre Dame is obligated to play 5 games a year against the ACC. That's almost half of their schedule. That's a big deal. If you're the ACC and you're selling season tickets and Notre Dame's coming to your place, that's a big deal. So I'm anxious to see how that much of it is going to pan out. I think the easiest thing for Notre Dame would be to stay as an independent, and they can say, look, here's the other thing if you're Notre Dame. I got to have a 12-team playoff. Okay, I can't stick with 4. Notre Dame's gotten in a couple of times at 4, but the biggest things that matter to Notre Dame, I was told, was obviously a home for their other sports, money, and access to the college football playoff. So I think they feel strongly they've got to get a 12-team playoff.
Tony, real quick here, the Dodd Trophy presented by PNC. You've got this. Been talking about it all week here at SEC Media Days. Tell us about the Dodd Trophy.
Well, the Dodd Trophy is different than other college Coach of the Year awards. Those awards are great. They honor excellence, a coach that has had a good season or has done a great job with a particular team. The Dodd Trophy is different. The Dodd Trophy takes into account scholarship, leadership, integrity. What do the players do academically? What do they do in public service? What does the head coach do when it comes to public service? It's all those things. It is different in that the recipient, we go to the campus and have a banquet and award the coach right there on his campus in front of his peers and the faculty and all that kind of stuff. So I was asked to put my name or lend my name to the board of directors about 12 years ago, and it's been a wonderful relationship. And I was asked to come here and sort of promote the Dodd Trophy, and I'm more than happy to do that.
That's great stuff, Tony. Thanks for taking the time. I'll tell George you said hi.
Please do. Take care.
I will. Thank you.
See you.
Oh, he is the best. He is, to my way of thinking, the foremost expert in Southern college football, Tony Barnhart. Watson, how long have you known him?
Oh, George, I'd be telling my age. Let's just say
we may not have Watson there.
You don't have me? George.
All right, I think the viewers can hear Watson, but we can't, but we'll try to figure that out, George.
Well, that is an issue. So Watson, I'll ask another thing. If they're hearing you, he was a sports writer. I think I'm right. Atlanta Journal-Constitution for years, and then got into the CBS business and the ESPN business. And I'll tell you what, I'm a huge fan, and I know you are too.
Absolute huge fan. And you said it exactly right. If you want somebody that can talk about history and all the way back, and as an authority now by using that history and putting it with everything in today's world, he's the guy. He'd be the one I would go to when they start talking about conference realignments, where is college football headed. I would have Tony right in the middle of it.
Okay, good stuff there. Let's do this. I know we're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to ask for a little bit of a favor here because we've got this highfalutin phone system, and we have not totally figured it out. I know that we left 2 or 3 of you on the lines yesterday, and I apologize for that. That is the last thing in the world that I want to do. So with that in mind, I want you all to go ahead and jump in. Go ahead and put that phone number up there if you can. 588-2998 is the number. Again, 588-2998. Not only do I want some red-blooded Americans, as I've said it in the past, but I want some really intelligent football, basketball, baseball, whatever you want to get into. I want to hear from you. But the other thing I also want is for you to help us out as we try to make this system work, because by the time we get knee-deep into football in mid-August, we want to be ready and raring to go. There's our number again, 588-2998. You hit the phones. This is Main Street Media Television.
Hey everyone, I'm John English. This is Keith Wallace, and we would like to welcome you to John English Antique Sports and Cards in Shelbyville, Tennessee. We specialize in graded and ungraded sports and non-sports cards, vintage wax boxes, and unopened cases. We have a large selection of PSA graded cards. We also specialize in old sports collectibles, baseball, football, basketball, golf, and tennis. You can find it all at John English Antique Sports and Cards. We are happy to be associated with Nashville's greatest sports antique, George Plaster.
At Sumner Funeral and Cremation, our mission is to serve families as our own, celebrate the life of their loved one, and help begin the healing process.
My whole family, including my wife and my mom and siblings, were very happy with the treatment that we received. I would highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation.
We offer funeral, burial, cremations, and pre-planning services.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation because of their caring nature and attentiveness to detail.
Pre-planning your funeral now will bring you peace of mind and less stress to your loved ones. When the chaos of losing you happens, your family can honor and celebrate your life, knowing things are happening just as you wanted them to. Pre-planning determines the details of your funeral, cemetery services, and can be less expensive. We are honored to serve you and are always here for you in your time of need.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
I'm Bart Durham.
I was sworn in as a lawyer in 1963, and I've been working as a lawyer since then.
We're a firm that does exclusively personal injury, a lot of tractor-trailer crashes. Insurance companies will open up their checkbooks when you force them to.
We have systems that work.
We get the most money for our clients in the shortest amount of time.
I'm Blair Durham. My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
Serving Williamson and surrounding counties, Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee offers comprehensive orthopedic care with 16 subspecialized physicians. Our practice provides high-tech care with a hometown touch. We offer physician clinics, physical and occupational therapy, advanced imaging, and surgical services, including interventional procedures. Call us at 615-791-2630. We're Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. High-tech care with a hometown touch.
When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links. I'm good. Who is this? This is Jeff. How you doing? Hey, Jeff, go ahead. I can barely hear you. Can we turn Jeff up a little bit?
George, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Right. I just want to say, I hope y'all doing all right. Watson, how you doing?
And apparently, he can't hear you, and I'm not sure I understand.
Number one, Tennessee baseball. Y'all were off there when all this stuff happened. But off Notre Dame, they threw some stuff on the field during football season. And the guy said on Twitter, wrote on Twitter, Tennessee fans throwing stuff on the field, a tradition like any other. And I know they're trying to the NCAA Rules Committee is trying to get them out of wearing the fur coats in the dugout and all the little daddy hats they wear. Instead of running around like you did the tournament. I know, I'm talking about it. I know y'all watched the tournament in Tennessee, baseball and all that stuff, what a great season they had and everything. And number two thing is Dwayne Haskins. I know nobody's talked about this, but they did when he passed away, when he was out in the middle of the road in the dump truck, they had the coroner that did an autopsy on him, and he was drunk. He was like 3 times over the legal limit. And then nobody wants to talk about this since he died. But I just didn't know if y'all had any comments on that. And I'll just hang up and listen to y'all's comments on those 2 topics. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I think we've got to get to a point in sports where people who throw things on a field, on a court, on a whatever, if they catch you, you're never allowed back in there. I mean, it's that simple. This is not some garbage dump, whether it's in Knoxville, Nashville, Tuscaloosa, Lexington, and certainly it happens on the pro level a lot as well. This new tradition of throwing stuff on the field is bull. And what has to happen is that teams and security have got to do better. They have got to start getting these people And, you know, you've got film footage that you can go back to. And as athletic departments, you can take certain seating, zoom in on that film and say, okay, we know that guy did that. We know the seat he's sitting in. We got to figure it out. And this is a subject that I feel pretty passionate about, that athletic departments have not done nearly enough to basically say, we're not going to put up with this. And, you know, Tennessee's got this problem. There's no question they do. They had it happen in the Ole Miss game. They're lucky somebody didn't get killed. You start throwing golf balls from an upper deck as high as Neyland Stadium is, somebody could have gotten killed. And the second thing is, it happened in baseball, and I question whether Tennessee's athletic department is doing enough to put a stop to it. Look, they're not the only one. It goes on everywhere. As for Haskins' thing, I don't know what there is to say other than it's a tragic situation. His alcohol limit was way, way over. And, you know, you would hope that would never happen. Sadly, it did happen. I don't really know what else I can say. Let me ask this, Watson. I'll just sort of give me a thumbs up here. Are you hearing any of this?
Yes. I'm okay. Can you hear me? But
yes.
I'm hearing you. Yes.
Okay.
And I heard the end of Jeff.
Okay. Are you buying at all what I'm saying, that athletic departments are not doing enough to stop fans from throwing stuff?
What happened up in Knoxville, both those incidents he brought up are absolutely awful. And it cannot happen. I can remember back going to Missouri, taking my UAB team in my early years to Missouri, and they're in the Big 12, and the winner goes to the Orange Bowl. And at the start of every game, after the first player, whatever, they'd throw oranges out on the field. Dangerous it could be now. I mean, they're coming from everywhere, and it's dangerous. And stuff like that, to me, get rid of it. And you can't get rid of it by telling everybody to stop. You get rid of it by catching certain people and getting them out of there, and then the next guy's going to get scared to do it. But the football incident in Tennessee, after a really neat night,
an incredible night,
was awful. That was awful, and I've always been scared to death of that, George. When else do you ever see that many people in one place? A college football game is probably the place at some of these, you know, the Penn States and the different places with all these. When do you see that many? And if you lose control of them, you could have yourself a real disaster.
Tony in Nolensville is up next. Tony, welcome.
Hello, George.
Tony, we have liftoff.
We have liftoff. Yes, we do. Hello, Watson. I hope you can hear me, as well as the young gun over here, Mr. Derek.
I can, Tony.
Hey, well, that is great. George, I'm going to talk to one little thing about some baseball. Then I've got a little surprise. Somebody. On baseball, guys, you know you can go to any baseball game. The old saying, go to a baseball game, you'll see something that you rarely ever see or hadn't seen before. George, two things stuck out in my mind that's happened in the last week. Number one, last week, I don't know if y'all saw it, but in the, I believe it was the Houston Astros and the Red Sox game, is his name Jordan
Alvarez, and he is a hell of a player.
Did you see him get 4 strikes last week?
No, tell me about it. I didn't.
He come up to bat, 7th inning, and in doing so, first pitch called a strike, second pitch a ball. He fouled off the next 2. Then there was a second ball, and the third pitch, the next pitch was called a strike. The umpire didn't ring him up or punch him out. No field umpire had a counter and was keeping a number of pitches and what was going on, the ball strike count. The catcher didn't know nothing about it. Both managers missed it. Everybody missed, so he stayed in the box.
That is hard to believe, because the umpire, if you'll notice, Tony, the umpire has a clicker.
They have a clicker. I've umpired before, yes, sir.
Yeah, so here are possibilities that would have caught it. The umpire's clicker should have caught it. The guy running the scoreboard upstairs should have caught it, although I'm not sure that he has any jurisdiction to be able to say what the hell's going on here. Neither dugout caught it. They're asleep at the wheel. If I'm the owner of the team,
and Alex was a Joey Coro.
yeah, if I'm the owner of the team and nobody in my dugout knows, that hacks me off.
And his next pitch, he grounded out, fortunately. But, yeah, he got 4 strikes. And then this week, the other day, sad to say, but the pitching coach for the Tampa Bay was going out to the mound to talk to the pitcher that started the All-Star game. And he was going to talk to his pitcher, not during the All-Star game, but during the regular season. And he pulled a calf muscle, tore it, or did something.
Saw
and had
that.
to hobble back to the dugout. and then the manager of the Tampa Bay had to go out and talk to the pitcher. But that you don't see some coach getting hurt walking to a pitcher's mound.
Watson,
So
I actually saw it. It's, you know, if I'm him, I don't want that shown anywhere. That's embarrassing.
I don't want to say anything. It could be me tomorrow. I mean, that's unbelievable. A comment on what Tony said. I've been in played in a lot of baseball games where one of the other umpire, we didn't have the 2 in a lot of the early years, but there is a second umpire that always had a counter. So it's amazing to me that the second umpire, that somebody in the major leagues didn't have that. And how in the world, Tony, does the pitcher and the catcher not know? I mean, if anybody should have called it out, it's the pitcher and the catcher more than anybody else.
It goes along with the Colorado Buffaloes 4th down that they got the 5 down. Remember that back in the day?
And won them the game.
And won. All right, it's a little surprise, George. Y'all wanted someone to bust old Billy Derrick sitting over there on a trivial question.
Sure.
I had a little stat of the day for you and Watson, but I want to ask it to Mr. Derrick.
Yes. Young gun.
Here we go.
10 schools. There's been 10 schools to play for the SEC football championship, keeping in line with SEC talks today. Of those 10, there's 6 that have won all the games. Can you name the 4 teams that lost in the SEC championship game that hasn't been back, and name the 4 teams that's never played for the SEC football championship?
God, that's a hefty one. So I'll start with the losers. I'll go. I feel like Auburn is in there.
Now, wait a minute. You're saying of schools that have what?
Lost in the SEC championship game, but did not come. They have not been back.
Okay. So I want to say Auburn. I want to say Missouri.
Auburn's won a national championship.
Maybe scratch Auburn. I know Missouri's in there.
We're making him look bad early.
Missouri's in there. South Carolina, I want to say, is in there.
South Carolina got ripped by Auburn one year that I went.
South Carolina, Missouri, they were in it. I'm not sure, forgetting if they lost or won.
They lost.
And then they lost
to Auburn.
And God, this is tough.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of.
I busted him, didn't you?
So what was the second part though? The 4.
Tony, this is a community service. What you've done here.
Hey, Billy, you ain't got all day, babe. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean the show's over soon.
What was the second part of your question?
Oh, the bunch of stalling.
For time's sake, George, and I know you got other calls.
Oh, don't worry about it. I want to embarrass him.
I'm going to give you the 4 that played in it that lost.
Okay.
South Carolina, Mississippi State, Arkansas, and
Missouri.
Mississippi State down here. Missouri.
Okay, so I was missing Mississippi State and Arkansas.
Mississippi State, by the way, lost to Peyton Manning's Tennessee team.
Correct. What 4 teams have not played ever in the SEC championship game. Now, this ought to be pretty simple.
Okay, so Vanderbilt, Kentucky.
Why are we helping?
Right.
Ole Miss.
Right.
Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M.
Very good.
There we go.
Very good.
There we
That
go.
was the easy part.
That was
Well, I
redemption.
wanted to play a little along and help those guys out right there, because us old guys, I was wondering how much you might know of that type of stuff playing in the SEC. So pretty good job. Pretty good job.
Tony, I think
So,
what he
guys,
figured out, and this is where you have given us a community service, Billy has just learned that it's not all that easy when they got a camera on you and you look like a dope, not able to figure this stuff out. It's not as easy as you think.
That is true. Guys, everything sounds like everything's working okay. So glad to call in, glad to be a part of the show. Thank you for taking my call, George and Watson and Billy. And great show today, by the way, always.
Tony, thank you.
See ya.
Okay, let's do this. Let's put the number back up, because when we come back, we've got 2 calls on the line, but let's put that number back up there. It is 588-2998. I want to get a third and a fourth red-blooded American who wants to call in, talk a little sports. We'll come back. We'll take more of your phone calls here on Main Street Media Television. But first, there's Brian Stewart at the bottom of the screen. Brian, how are you?
Doing fantastic, George. Watson, how are you, sir?
I'm good, Brian. Good to see your face.
Good to see both of you guys.
Tell us what's happening.
Well, wanted to get on here and just let you know, hey, it's basically the market is what we're seeing as far as like the buyers trends and the selling trends. I'm starting to see, believe it or not, and this is how fickle our real estate market can be. I'm actually seeing a uptick on the listings and as far as the offers going in on these listings. I believe that buyers have jumped on board with trying to get these homes and get these deals done while they can. And the miracles never cease to amaze. The sellers are actually reaping the rewards of that again. Now, is it anything like it was in 2001 or two years ago or 3 years ago? No, we're not at that point again. But I am seeing a little more balance in the market. I'm seeing sellers still getting that top dollar. And as I said before, they're not getting 20 offers on their home, but they are getting 2 or 3 now. And the buyers are getting the concessions done that they want. So it's a heck of a time to buy real estate. And one thing that the Lord is never going to make enough of is the land. And that's just one thing that he stopped making a long time ago. So if you want to get out there and you want to buy that piece of property, I would encourage you guys to give us a call here at One Stop Realty. We're here to help. We have the knowledge, we have the expertise, and we have the agents that are ready to go to be there for you.
Okay, tell them how they can reach you.
We're 615-822-0750 at the office. 615-440-7011 is my cell. OneStopRealtyTN.com is the website. And as always, please follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
Beautiful. Brian, you have a good one. Talk to you again tomorrow.
Thank you, gentlemen. Y'all have a great day.
That's Brian Stewart. He's a good man and he's a Braves fan. We'll take more of your phone calls in just a moment.
At WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics, we pride ourselves in providing access, innovation, and a patient experience second to none. Access to care and treatment when you need it. Innovation with medical-led cosmetics and various on-site technologies for full-service treatments with a customer experience that is calming, casual, and effective. Independently owned, providing medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit WellSkinMD.com to schedule your appointment today. WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics. Access to healthier skin. It's your last chance to get a spring tune-up for summer. Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have cold air on that first hot day of summer. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. That's 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Have you heard about the high levels of radon in Middle Tennessee? Radon gas is the second leading cause of lung cancer, second only to smoking, and has no color, no taste, and no smell. The only way to know if you have radon is to test for it. Duret Radon Mitigation offers testing for small and large-scale residential and commercial properties, plus mitigation services. Visit DuretRadonMitigation.com to request testing or get a free estimate for mitigation. That's DuretRadonMitigation.com.
This is attorney Bart Durham, and this is me. I'm Aaliyah. Keeping in good physical condition is really important to me. But when I had a wreck with a tractor-trailer truck that hurt my legs so bad I couldn't work for almost a year, I knew I needed a lawyer that understood tractor-trailer cases. So I called Bart. Bart gets millions of dollars for his clients every year.
At Bart Durham Injury Law, we've handled hundreds of tractor-trailer cases.
My dad and I want to help. Give us a call at 615-242-9000.
At WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics, we pride ourselves in providing access, innovation, and a patient experience second to none. Access to care and treatment when you need it. Innovation with medical-led cosmetics and various on-site technologies for full-service treatments with a customer experience that is calming, casual, and effective. Independently owned, providing medical, surgical, pediatric, and cosmetic dermatology and more. Visit WellSkinMD.com to schedule your appointment today. WellSkin Dermatology and Aesthetics. Access to healthier skin.
Welcome to the Omni Nashville Hotel. Urban elegance with a vintage touch. Our 800-room hotel opened up in the fall of 2013 with 746 guest rooms and 54 suites.
I think journalism is like politics. It's all local, and I think Main Street Media has really hit on something that I've been preaching for 50 years. And keep the news local, right? Local stories for local readers, and that's what I like about Main Street Media. I finally found somebody who agrees with me philosophically about concentrate on local subjects, local topics, and you'll bring your readers in.
We're back, and we're headed back to the phones. For whatever reason, our little phone system gizmo is not telling us who the caller is. So next up, if you will, tell me who you are and welcome to Main Street Media Television.
George, this is quite an honor. It's Frank in Smyrna. How you doing?
Frank, how in the world are you?
I'm doing well. Mr. Watson, how you doing?
Frank, I'm great. Great to hear your voice, man.
Yeah, it's great to be on with you guys. This is I just did the math here. This is the sixth different show that George has hosted that I've had the privilege to be a caller to. It shows how long I've been listening to that guy. And congratulations again on your induction into the Tennessee Radio Hall of Fame, George. That's awesome. I went back and listened to your speech. All right, I'll admit I saw it on your Facebook page from 39,000 feet somewhere over Georgia last night.
Really?
Florida. Well, what else is I going to do at 39,000 feet?
Pray.
I did a little bit of that too, because there's some serious storms in South Georgia. Wow!
Oh, I believe it.
Last night, but I thought about you and said this guy would not be very happy on this flight. But anyway, Watson, I will ask the question I had for you regarding Vanderbilt football in a minute. But George, our Braves, oh goodness, what a huge disappointment in New York. I never thought they'd go up there and win 4 out of 5, but I sure didn't think they'd lose 4 out of 5. Hopefully it's just a slump. It just disappointing. I expected better. I don't know where you are with this. I'm certainly not pressing panic or anything, but we're 7 games out of first, and I don't like it.
Yeah, first of all, the likelihood that they're going to win the division now is pretty slim. That's a big – I mean, it's happened before. I'm not going to say it can't happen. The likelihood is not very good. To me, the storm clouds were out when the Mets were able to tread water with no Max Scherzer and no Jacob deGrom. And now they've gotten them back both healthy. DeGrom, looked like 2020 Jacob deGrom, which is the best starter in the National League. If that continues, the Braves they're not going to surpass the Mets simply because you're not going to go into any long losing streaks when, you get those kind of well-pitched games. On the flip side, the Braves have sprung a few leaks. I was never all that wild about Jake Odorizzi. I've always thought that he's a middle-of-the-road starter at best. The part that we never saw coming is that Ian Anderson has had not a sophomore jinx, but a junior jinx. In his 3rd year, he's sprung a leak, and I don't pretend to know enough to know what it is that's going on, and apparently they don't either, or they would have already fixed it. So the Mets have got better pitching. The Braves are going to have to outscore people for a while until they get this thing fixed.
Well, I think, we've got 4 games in Atlanta next week with them, and I will be at 2 of those games. We really need a sweep of those guys, or at worst, win 3 out of 4. I think if we don't win at least 3 out of 4 next week against those guys in Atlanta, I think we start looking at a wild card. And you know what? I guess on the flip side of all that, just get in the playoffs. Just get in and you got a chance. I mean, Lord only knows. Last year should have taught us. Just get in and anything's possible. So
go ahead with your question to Watson.
Yeah, Watson, I was looking at Vanderbilt's football schedule the other day, and I found it interesting. Correct me if I'm wrong. Their first 4 games are all their non-conference opponents. Did I see that right? And then 8 straight SEC games to end the season. Did I say that?
I think you're right, Frank. I believe that's right.
Who
is Hawaii? Hawaii, Elon,
Northern
Wake
Illinois,
Forest, and then Northern Illinois. And it's absurd that they're going to Northern Illinois.
I guess for me, what I don't understand is why are all 4 of those games at the first of the season? Why aren't we playing one of those games in November, maybe the week before we play Tennessee, or maybe one of those games in October? Does the SEC office have something to do with this? I guess I just, as a Vanderbilt fan, I've seen more bad than good. I've seen the good times certainly, and I've seen a lot of bad. And I'm just thinking, is there any reason to believe this team's any better than 2-10 again this year? And I'm having a hard time seeing that they win more than 2 games. I just think when you're Vanderbilt, you've got to schedule smarter. And I don't know if the coaches or the AD have any control over when these non-conference games are slotted in, but come on, there's got to be a better way.
Okay, I'm going to let you hear this off air if that's okay.
That's fine, George. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Frank, I mean, we've talked about this, George. I kind of like the 4 straight if they were 4 wins, but I don't like Wake Forest sitting in there. I don't like going to Hawaii, and I don't like going to Northern Illinois for sure. I just don't think an SEC team ought to be going to Northern Illinois. That's my personal opinion. But if you're going to put 4 early, have all 4 of them at home, maybe one of them on the road, but all should be wins. Now you go into SEC play, Frank, with 4-0. You win 2 out of the next 8. Is that right? Yeah. 2 of the next 8, you're in a bowl. I can see how one might get bumped till late in the year because of SEC scheduling, George. Sometimes you don't control that. When the SEC says you're going to play so-and-so on this date, you have to work around that. Television has a lot to do with that. Vanderbilt don't get caught in a lot of that because they're not one of those teams that's everybody's wanting to see on television. So, but he hit on something I've hit on forever. You know it, George. You've heard me say it forever. You want to really get this program going. I think you recruit like they're recruiting now. I think they're doing a good job. But get your wins on that schedule. And they say, well, that's you want to be competitive. You're competitive. You've got 8 SEC football games. So those other 4 to me ought to be Vanderbilt wins if they play good enough. And I'd work really hard at doing that. And I think that's the Vanderbilt way to make it. Once you get past that and you start then going 7-5, then maybe you jump up to 8-4. But there has to be some consistency in winning and going to bowl games before Vanderbilt will ever take that next step, George, in my opinion.
Watson, stop there. Let me get one last call. Caller, if you will, identify yourself.
George, this is Pat in Bellevue.
Pat, how are you?
Doing good, George. How about yourself, buddy?
Doing good. If you will, just speak a little bit louder. Having a hard time hearing you.
Just turn my phone up just a little bit here. There you go. All right, I want to correct you on one thing you said a couple weeks ago about the University of Notre Dame, one of my favorite teams, and there's a lot of people in the mid-state that like Notre Dame, contrary to what you say about them. But Notre Dame has not played Air Force or Army in I don't know how many years. The only service academy team they play religiously is Navy. And if you'll get your young gun Billy Derrick to research why they play Navy, it has something to do about World War II and the reason they played Navy and why they continue to play Navy. The other thing is, I've been listening to you for a long, long time. I've met you several times. You're a nice guy, but you hate Notre Dame. And I don't know why you hate them so much. If you could just elaborate on why you hate them so much.
I love it.
Great call, Pat. Great call.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you, nephew.
You got it.
Oh, nephew. Well.
Nephew. Oh,
well,
Billy, you're in trouble, bud.
I think we're done. Thank you for the call. I just think the whole thing at times, they give you a little bit of an elitist, we're better than everybody, and I get sick of that. And, they don't want to be a part of a conference. They want to sit out there by themselves. But then when they don't get treated the exact same way come college football time, they're the first to bellyache. When they do get in the playoff, they get their butt kicked, and then they want to be treated as though there's something special. So, yeah, I guess I do have a little bit of a gripe about Notre Dame football. They ought to be like everybody else. Join a conference. Watson, on that, why don't we go to a break?
I think we need to.
Stay tuned. The Plaster Bet of the Day is next on Main Street Media Television. When you're thinking about golf, consider Riverside Golf Links. Under new ownership, the course has improved dramatically. It's now 27 holes, complemented by a 9-hole executive course. Book a tee time now at 615-847-5074 and get ready to enjoy the beauty of golf in the Old Hickory area at Riverside Golf Links.
It's your last chance to get a spring tune-up for summer. Complete Service Heat and Air can clean your coils, check out your motor, and make sure you have cold air on that first hot day of summer. Complete Service Heat and Air is located in White Bluff, Tennessee. We do service and repair on heating and air the right way. 24/7 service. Call us at 615-797-3997. That's 615-797-3997. Serving Cheatham, Davidson, Dixon, Hickman, Humphreys, Montgomery, and Williamson counties. Serving Williamson and surrounding counties, Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee offers comprehensive orthopedic care with 16 subspecialized physicians. Our practice provides high-tech care with a hometown touch. We offer physician clinics, physical and occupational therapy, advanced imaging, and surgical services, including interventional procedures. Call us at 615-791-2630. We're Bone and Joint Institute of Tennessee. High-tech care with a hometown touch.
At Sumner Funeral and Cremation, our mission is to serve families as our own, celebrate the life of their loved one, and help begin the healing process.
My whole family, including my wife and my mom and siblings, were very happy with the treatment that we received. I would highly recommend Sumner Funeral and Cremation.
We offer funeral, burial, cremations, and pre-planning services.
Sumner Funeral and Cremation. Traditional, affordable, dignified. SumnerFuneral.com.
For Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly, they welcome every opportunity to serve and satisfy their clients. Whether you are looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and remodel is unique, luxurious, completed on time, and within budget. Contact them today to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects by logging on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, final segment. Plaster bet of the day. Back in a little slump.
George, you are back in a little slump. 9-11 now. We talked about it. Would have been nice to get back to 10-10 last night, but just not able to. The Padres.
You get shut out at home. What the hell is that?
That's the Padres this season. Yeah. But George.
That's not acceptable.
Unacceptable for George. But we got Bart Durham sponsoring the bet of the day. And since 1975, Bart Durham Injury Law has aggressively protected the rights of a broad range of victims of car accidents and personal injury in both Tennessee and Kentucky. If you too have seen your life interrupted by an injury on a highway, in a hospital, at your workplace, or on unsafe property, you should let their attorneys do the work fighting for the full financial compensation that you need. Learn more about Bart Durham Injury Law by logging on to bartdurham.com. We are ready for your bet of the day. You're going same state, California, but we're going with the Dodgers.
Yeah, but there's a distinction. Okay. In the betting world, if you bet them straight up tonight against the Twins and they don't win, you could be out a fortune. Ooh. So Vegas puts this little minus a run and a half, which makes it a little more difficult. Got to win by 2. Watson, that said, Dodgers.
Good luck, bud. I mean, we got to get you out of the hole here. You got to get to 500 anyway. Let's go. Let's pick it up. Study this a little more. You need somebody to motivate you a little bit here, babe. Let's pick it up a little bit.
It is not a motivation issue.
What is it?
My teams don't score any runs.
Well, pick somebody that does.
Well, you would have thought San Diego would score at home, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
Got Juan Soto, they got Fernando Tatis, they got all these guys. Why don't they score?
It's called good pitching, George.
Yeah, whatever. Although it was a former Brave, Alex Wood, who did them in last night.
Another one they let go, I guess.
Yes, they certainly did. Watson, we're done.
We're done.
We're toast.
Toast. Put a little butter on that toast.
See you tomorrow. You behave until then.
Bye.
Billy?
George?
Learn some things, past the 5-year mark.
I'll do my best. 2 years.
2 years.
2 year mark.
Expand your knowledge. We're done. This is Main Street Media Television.